Bonjour les amis, bienvenue sur Power-Trade, la chaîne des stratégies d'investissement simples et efficaces. Alors, je suis heureux de vous présenter aujourd'hui la journée qu'on avait fait le 7 octobre sur la conférence Midnight Sun Mining Corporation, qui était vraiment une journée très sympathique, qui s'est suivie d'un pot avec tous les power traders. Avec certains power traders, nous avons même continué la soirée autour d'un repas. J'ai pas pu, et j'en suis désolé, discuter avec tout le monde car on était très nombreux, mais c'était vraiment fantastique. Merci à toutes et à tous qui vous étiez déplacés à cette journée cuivre où on a appris à justement quantifier les choses et investir ou pas sur une minière junior compte tenu de certains paramètres. C'était très intéressant. Merci à Laurent Morel qui a animé cette conférence. Alors, suite à ça, nous avons aussi invité Aya Gold, car nous souhaitons faire une journée silver, puisqu'on avait fait une journée cuivre juste la semaine auparavant. Et donc, nous avons convié Aya Gold le 13 octobre pour un petit déjeuner. Les places sont limitées, on sera un peu plus limité encore, car la configuration pour accueillir les gens est beaucoup plus exiguë. Mais alors, je vous conseille de vous inscrire très rapidement car nous n'avons que 10 places. On va peut-être monter à 15, on va peut-être se serrer 10 ou 15 places donc pour assister à ce que Aya Gold va nous dire, puisque nous allons bien sûr les cuisiner sur ce qui s'est passé dernièrement. À cette occasion, bien sûr, je serai présent. Il y aura Gilles Laura, il y aura Laurent Morel, et donc on sera toute l'équipe au complet, les amis. Mais il y aura aussi Benoît Lassalle, qui est CEO d'Aya Gold Silver, l'un des producteurs les plus dynamiques et prometteurs du secteur, les amis. Nous avons aussi Peter Groth, qui est auteur d'un livre best-seller sur bien sûr le secteur, et donc le titre de son livre c'était The Great Silver Bull, donc il sera présent aussi. Mais on a aussi Guillaume Derville, ancien responsable de la stratégie macro et dérivée pour BNP Paribas Asie-Pacifique. Il y aura du beau monde, les amis. Je vais pas vous dire venez nombreux car nous n'avons que 10 à 15 places disponibles, mais inscrivez-vous nombreux afin que vous soyez les premiers à être sélectionnés. Alors ça se passera à Paris, ceux qui seront sélectionnés recevront l'adresse, puisque ça se passera dans Paris 8e arrondissement. Sur ces bonnes paroles, les amis, soyez prudents, surtout portez-vous bien, et bien je vous laisse découvrir l'intégralité de la vidéo qui avait déjà été publiée sur Matière à Profit. Mais là, vous avez les sous-titres sans vous embêter à aller sur YouTube pour les mettre en place. Ils sont directement incrustés dans la vidéo. Bon visionnage, les amis.
Midnight Sun. We are working in Zambia. For anybody that's not familiar, Zambia is a pretty special place. Tying into what Laurent was just explaining, that there is this deficit looming. There's a deficit coming that we've never seen before. There's a demand for copper coming that we have never seen before. And it's only going to grow. This is going to be exponential. There is basically no other area in the world than what I'm about to show you that can have a global impact in short term. This is a really unique situation where geologically we have some of the biggest deposits in the world. They are extremely shallow, and there's groups like the French government and the US government that are making moves to ensure that the material from these deposits, not just what we're working on, but of course the operating mines that surround us, are able to get to a Western port, that are able to get out, that they can get to Europe, they can get to the US, and that the world can tap into this copper supply. These are the kind of mines that can actually make a difference in that looming copper deficit. and we are right in the heart of what's happening there. So this is a really unique situation, particularly as an early stage project developer like we are. So I'm going to jump forward. There are a number of, and by all means, stop me whenever you want to translate.
Can I stop you?
Yes.
Disclaimer, on a oublié de le faire. Donc, cette réunion n'est pas un conseil d'investissement. Faites vos devoirs, d'accord. Pour un titre d'information, je possède moi-même des titres de Midnight Sun. Donc, j'ai une petite ligne. Je ne suis pas millionnaire en action, donc je n'influe pas sur le titre de par mon analyse. Donc voilà, c'est une petite mise au point que je suis obligé de faire. Voilà. Donc je vous incite à vraiment faire votre devoir d'analyse personnelle pour cette conférence.
Excellent. So there are a number of reasons why this is special, and I'm going to try and cover as many of them for you as I can. The first is that, as I mentioned, we are in the heart of this district called the Domes region. Top spot in the world for copper exploration today. And that is a special place to be. As a junior company, we are the only junior company in this region, in the location we're in, and with a project like we have. We're completely surrounded by the biggest operating mines in Zambia and the biggest operating mines in DRC, which by default are the biggest operating copper mines in Africa. We have multiple targets. We aren't one target. We aren't developing one project. We're actually sitting on 4 targets for the kind of opportunity I'm going to show you today. But our flagship target is the top target in Zambia right now. It is what we refer to as a tier 1 exploration target. It's extremely large. It's the largest and highest grade on record in Zambia to date. And that is called Dumbo. So I'll show you that in a moment. But more than that, we call ourselves a unicorn because we have near-term exploration opportunity, massive near-term exploration upside, and we have a near-term production scenario, meaning we can be one of the rare exploration companies that are actually in a position to earn cash flow and to deliver that in different ways, potentially by dividend or by having the cash to develop our other assets without diluting our company. But that is the absolute most rare thing to have in our business, and that's what Midnight Sun represents. Do you want to jump in and translate piece by piece, or just keep on going? Maybe tell me. Tell me when you do. So we are working with one of our neighbors. That company is called First Quantum. They are one of the biggest copper producing companies in the world. Their mine, which is called Kansanshi, is one of the largest deposits in Zambia, and it sits less than 6 kilometers away from our property. So we're working with them to develop source for their mine, for a portion of their mine, that can produce cash flow very, very quickly, which would give us cash flow. So it's not as though we need to build an operation or build a mine. We can simply deliver material from our property to them in extremely short term, and we think on that we can be in production in less than 12 months. Now that is a truly, truly rare opportunity in this business. Typical time frame to build a mine is 5 to 10 years. So if you can take a production scenario and have that turning into cash within 12 months, that's remarkable. That's what we're sitting on. And that's the secondary target we have. So we have the right things, we have the right mix. I always like to say that there are certain boxes you need to check to have a project that can go the distance. And in this case, we think we check every single box. We have the right project in the right place in a rising copper price environment. We have the right material, we have discoveries, and we're surrounded by all the companies that would want to buy us. That's the ultimate scenario. Now what do we have to do? Prove that it's real, deliver it to those companies, and get this bought so that you as investors make a lot of money in a very short period of time. That's the goal. So I'm going to show you how we're doing that. So to quickly explain Zambia, this is one of the world's largest districts for copper production. It's approximately number 6 in the world right now, but they're in the process of elevating their copper output. They want to be number 2 in the world. And their President Hichilema, is doing everything he can to build that up and help to get them into production at a higher rate. And by that, he's bringing new companies into the area. He's helping companies like ourselves move forward quickly through permitting, making sure that we can get these projects moving forward. And by helping the existing producers in the region get permits, advance their projects, and make sure there's no red tape in their way, that they can move forward and boost their output. So as I'll show you, our other neighbor, Barrick, is very well known. has the largest mine in Zambia, and they are now going to double their production output over the next little while, and they're putting $2 billion into that.
You can have the fact that the Zambia has built this new road infrastructure.
New road infrastructure and a rail line that I'm going to show you in a moment as well. So let's jump straight to it. This is the Zambian copper belt. Now, when people talk about the Zambian copper belt, they typically mean the portion on the right-hand side of the screen that is lined up there. It says Zambian Congolese copper belt. But this new area has developed, which is over here with all of these bubbles, and every deposit you see, with exception of the one called Tinky, is 1 billion tons. Now, if you think globally, big copper deposits, in any jurisdiction, Arizona, Chile, Argentina, 1 billion tons is the biggest. I mean, these are absolute outliers. These are the biggest deposits. This is the only area globally that I know of that breeds billion-ton deposits as an average. These are some of the largest deposits in the world. Add to that, these deposits are typically less than 150 meters from surface. They're shallow. That means they're inexpensive to mine. The single biggest problem for copper right now is that most of the easy-to-find, shallow porphyry copper deposits have been found. So in order to advance new copper deposits, companies are going deeper and deeper and deeper, in some cases 2 and 3 kilometers underground. They're extremely expensive, they're extremely hard to mine, and they're not getting built. These are shallow, these are easy, these are open pit, and they can be put into production very quickly. So these are the ultimate deposits to get into production. Midnight Sun is everything surrounded in green, and we are sitting on a 500 square kilometer land package, 4 big targets to advance one of these projects, surrounded by the 5 biggest copper mines in the region. So they are Kamoa-Kakula, which is 1.4 billion tons at 3% copper. First Quantum Sentinel mine, which is 1 billion tons at 0.51% copper. Eric's Lumwana mine, which is 1.62 billion tons at 0.52. It's massive. And then First Quantum's Kansanshi mine, which is less than 6 kilometers away from our property. Their haul road runs through our property. That's 1 billion tons at 0.66. And that's the group we're working with to put part of our project into production.
Donc on essaie de retenir les noms à Lumwana, Kansanshi et donc le projet ici sur le site. C'est important d'avoir ça en tête pour la cartographie parce qu'on va comparer en fait le timing et la disposition de ces sites dans la suite.
The last piece is there's a dashed line running right through the middle. I'm going to try and use this to point at it right here. That dashed line is a new rail line that is being built by the US government in combination with a company called Traffic Europe. The US government initially under Joe Biden put $120 million into this. Donald Trump has now put $350 million into it. They are building this rail line. It's happening now, and that is going to deliver copper from every one of these projects, including ours, to the western port in Angola. It's going to get that material to Europe. It's going to get that material to the US, and everybody's going to have access to this. So this is a huge development as far as this region is concerned, and it tells you that these projects are going to get developed. They're going to go into production, and they're going to continue producing for many, many years. And it's very, very important to the Western world that that happens. So zooming in, this is Zambia. So on this one, half of that map is in the DRC, which is a very difficult region to work in. We're in Zambia. This is the part that's in Zambia. Very easy. We own 100% of our projects. There are no royalties. There's no difficulty. Permitting's easy, and the government is 100% supportive. So this is fantastic. Best place to be, and this is where Midnight Sun is sitting. Everything you see surrounded in green is Midnight Sun. We have First Quantum Sentinel, Barracks Lumwana Mine, and Kansanshi around us. And what makes this so important is that this area is called the Domes region. And it's called the Domes region because of these features that are outlined in yellow. And those are what they call the basement domes. So this is the area that is the oldest rocks. I don't know how you want to explain that, Laurent, but the oldest rocks in the belt. And they're very, very special because they drive the development of these giant copper deposits. And those copper deposits typically sit in that orange rock unit.
Can you show us some sample landscapes?
I will, yeah, for sure. In a moment I can show you what it looks like. And in essence, the largest deposits in the belt sit in those basements. The majority of the deposits sit outside of the basement rocks. Our flagship target that I'm going to show you is in those rocks. It's in the right ones, the ones that produce the biggest deposits, like Lumwana. Lumwana and our flagship target are exactly the same. They're geologically analogous, they're identical, only ours has not yet been developed, and now it's going to be. So these are the keys. Billions of tons per deposit, an average grade of 0.56% copper, and they're very, very shallow. So that's the trifecta. Those are the three things you need to make these successful, and you have all of them here. So these are the targets that we're working on. Number one is down in the lower right corner. It's called Dumbo. Number two is called Kuba, and number three is called Me Too. And this fellow is a very important part of our story. I'm going to tell you a story now. Laurent, you may need to translate this one for me because there's a lot of detail. But this is Kevin Bonnel. Kevin Bonnel joined our team just over a year ago. And I'm going to wind the slides back for a moment and tell you who Kevin Bonnel is. That deposit in the middle, Barrick's Lumwana mine, was purchased by Barrick 20 years ago from Equinox for $7.3 billion. One of the largest amounts ever paid for one of these assets, extremely expensive. It gives you an idea of the value of this asset. But Barrick, after purchasing it, spent almost 20 years trying to make it work, and they couldn't do it. It had some continuity issues, so geologically they couldn't figure it out, and they struggled with it. 4 years ago, they finally gave up, and they brought in an expert to develop this asset, and that expert's name was Kevin Bonnel. So Kevin was the geologist that Barrick brought in, and they gave him one job. So Kevin, your job is to turn this into a tier one. Give us the tier one asset we need. We need 1 billion tons. We need a tier one asset. We want to change our name from Barrick Gold to Barrick Metals. We don't want to be Barrick Gold anymore. We want to be a big copper producer, and this is the asset that's going to do it. So Kevin came in and took a totally different approach than anyone ever had. And in 2 years, which in our world is extremely fast, in 2 years, he gave Barrick 1.62 billion tons of ore, 62 years of mine life, and 9 million tons of contained copper. That is astronomical, and in just 2 years. Kevin then wrote a report to the CEO of Barrick and said, if you like what I just did at Lumwana, the best asset in the country is actually called Dumbo. It's owned by Midnight Sun, and you need to do a deal. So we went to the table with Barrick. We didn't end up cutting a deal. The offers they made were extremely weighted towards Barrick, but we did get something very, very important. We got Kevin Bonnel. Kevin quit his job at Barrick and joined Midnight Sun.
Qu'est-ce qu'on apprend là? On apprend deux choses. Que pour développer une junior, c'est une histoire de géologie, c'est une histoire de personne. Vous ne trouverez pas la photo de Kevin Bonnel. J'ai essayé de voir qui c'était, de faire une petite recherche sur Internet. Donc je suis content de voir. Donc voilà, on a besoin de géologues d'exploration. En fait, dans notre secteur, ce sont les grands informaticiens de la vague numérique des années 80-90. Vous voyez. Les géologues qui sont capables de transformer un déposit et d'avoir cette économie sur un déposit, ce sont en fait les vrais créateurs de valeurs. Et la deuxième chose qu'on apprend, c'est que Barrick, encore une fois, a laissé filer un de ses meilleurs ingénieurs, géologues, pour une junior. C'est-à-dire que Barrick n'est sur plein de dossiers, c'est comme ça. Barrick n'est pas capable, enfin Barrick sous l'ancienne direction, vous savez que le PDG vient d'être viré, ouais, mais en fait ils n'ont pas été capables en fait de garder en fait leur personne. Il y avait un deal à faire avec Midnight Sun, ils l'ont perdu, et du coup en fait ce géologue, lui, il s'est dit moi, je vais avoir mon nom sur la prochaine grande découverte. Donc, il s'en fout de Barrick. Donc, il décide simplement de rejoindre l'équipe de Midnight Sun. Voilà, ça marche comme ça, en fait. Et c'est quelque chose, c'est vraiment une case à cocher très importante quand on étudie une junior, de voir, en fait, qui sont les personnes, comment ça s'est passé. Et ce transfuge de Barrick à Midnight Sun, c'est vraiment un des arguments vraiment très très importants pour évidemment la valorisation. Parce que vous l'avez compris, le pari de Midnight Sun, c'est d'avoir en fait sur leur déposit principal les mêmes résultats en fait que Dr Bonnel a eu sur le deposit de barriques. Donc c'est ça qu'on achète avec Midnight Sun. C'est le point principal.
Excellent. So Kevin joined our team, and for the simple belief that he knew that Dumbo had the potential to be just as big or bigger, in his view, bigger and higher grade than Lemoine. He had his name on the biggest deposit in the belt. He didn't want another one to come along and not have his name on it. So Kevin wants to develop Dumbo, and he's leading our team. So he joined our team, he became our COO, and that's who's driving us forward. The thing to understand is that the geology is identical. These are the same thing. Same kind of system, same rocks, same geology, but there's one big difference, which I'm going to show you in a moment. Barrick's Lemoine mine is based on something that's 4 kilometers long. Ours is based on something that's 20 kilometers long. It's 5 times the size. It's also 6 times the grade. So when you look at this from a surface perspective, there is a massive difference. This has the potential to be much, much larger and much higher grade. So I'll show you what Kevin is doing. And it's all based around this. This is Kevin's methodical approach that he used at Barrick to define Lemoine. Using this methodology, he got Lemoine to the finish line in just 2 years. And he thinks he can do the same at Dumbo. So using this step in the middle, which is a type of geophysical, definitely don't know the word for that, so you can jump in, Laurent, but geophysical survey that gives you an idea of what this looks like at depth, what the mineralization looks like, and a roadmap to how you drill it off properly, systematically, methodically, and most cost effectively. We can do the same and get this to the finish line and into that development pipeline the same way that they did at Barrick. Only for us as a junior, there's far more upside. So this is Dumbo.
I have just a short question.
Sure.
So you, at the moment, is drilling actively?
Yes.
In all directions?
Yes. Yeah, we're drilling. We're drilling, so we're drilling on Dumbo. And we are focusing, as I'll show you in a moment, we're going to drill Dumbo starting at the bottom, the southern end of this, and drill it all the way to the northern end of it systematically, and we're not stopping. So we're bringing in as many drills as we can. We're making this go as quickly as we can, and we're being very, very aggressive. We do not want to wait around. We don't want this to take 5 years. We want this to take a year, or maybe 2, maybe less, if we're successful and have enough drills turned.
And you said at the beginning that you are in contact with Canton. You have close contact, they are already interested in your deposit?
Yeah, so we're working with First Quantum, but we're working with them on another target that I'll show you in a moment. I'm sure that there would be interest from any of the parties in this region in Dumbo with what we're doing. But we're at a point right now where we've said to everybody around us, we're not doing a deal on Dumbo right now. We're going to show the world how big Dumbo is, and then we're going to do a deal on Dumbo. But it'd be too early right now.
You want to publish first your result, and we expect big results?
Correct, yeah.
And after that, you think
then we can talk.
Different competitor will approach you?
Yeah, and we want them all to approach us. The more the better.
And
drive the price up.
My last point, maybe it's too many questions.
No, you feel free.
Because maybe I'm not the only one who experienced, we had a bad experience in France a couple of years ago in Zambia.
Yeah.
With Zambia copper.
Okay.
And the Ponkola copper mine.
Okay.
You know that Anglo-American was the main shareholder from that mine. At that time, it produced 2/3 of the production in Zambia. And finally, they refused to invest. So what will be your main argument to convince us to invest in your company?
So,
because we lose money in that company.
Sure.
It was a good deposit.
Yeah.
It was owned by one of the biggest copper producer in the world. And finally, at that time, the copper was just $1.5 a pound. Yeah. And it was too expensive for them to invest 700 million of euros. So it can change quickly. And what would you?
So I think 2 things. First of all, I think you have to believe in the current copper thesis, which is almost irrefutable. Copper demand is going up. Copper is at a severe deficit, and it's only going to climb. So everybody's looking for new copper deposits. This is definitely the top place in the world right now for where that's happening. Every company, one thing that I didn't point out and I should have, is that it isn't just First Quantum and Barrick in our area. You also have Rio Tinto, BHP, Glencore, Anglo-American, as you mentioned, Anglo, Ivanhoe, have all moved into Zambia, have all moved in around us, and they're all looking for an asset like ours that can actually be the next producer. They're all looking for a new development stage asset. Now, when you talk about copper mining, copper production, copper deposits, one of the things that I've tried to sort of share with you guys right off the top is our ethos around it. We're not miners. We're not asking you to invest in a mining company, as you will. This is exploration, and this is there's the most upside from an investment perspective in the early part of the curve, right? So when you get into exploration, we're not looking at permitting. We're not looking at starting a mine, building a mine, taking the time to do that. And we're not allowing any company to have a major interest in our project early on, which is sort of the situation you're describing, which is where you can get stalled out. If you're relying on that major company to back your asset and keep on pushing it, and then they decide not to, you're toast. With us, we're focusing on the early phase, which is getting this to the point of sale, making sure that that sale happens, and that we set up the perfect opportunity for M&A, so that the transaction is only reliant on us and our ability to execute on drilling, which we have no question whatsoever that we can do that, and that will drive the share price. So, for example, when we unveiled this plan 12 months ago, we were a $27 million company. That's literally 14 months ago, I guess, in total. Today, we were 360 million year to date, up tenfold already. We barely started. Today, we're a $260 million company trading at $1.35. It's an eightfold increase if you had invested at that first stage. And this is just the baseline. So it gives you an idea of kind of the upside of this part of the curve, and getting that to the point where we're ready to entertain M&A. That's the part where the success can come, and it doesn't come with any of the inherent risks you just described, which are exactly why we don't want to be a mining company. That's where most of the difficulties will come. On the exploration side, it relies on the team, the quality of the individuals, which is why I shared Kevin. I think the people are everything, right?
And actually, we have skin in the game.
We have skin in the game. We all do. I mean,
3% now.
Yeah. We're
I just have a short group.
Yeah, our group alone is 13% of the equation. As of today, as of the $30 million we just raised, this company is almost 40 to 50% owned by very large institutions. And we've built that and changed that over the course of the last 14 months, because this is the kind of story that should be institutionally owned. There's room there for retail investors. But to show you as a retail investor that this is the kind of thing that globally is important, and those big groups are backing it. And that's basically the 15 biggest mining funds in the world. So the 30 million we just raised is predominantly coming from the 15 biggest mining funds, which is super exciting. I mean, that shows you the quality of the project and the quality of the people willing to back it. But hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, as soon as you get into the mining game, it changes the whole nature of the equation, and it becomes much, much more fraught with risk. If you can stay on the early part of the continuum, exploration and development to the point of sale, that's the big return, and it's always an inherently risky business, but at least you don't run into that problem that you guys did with production stage asset. It's very, very bad.
Donc vous avez compris le business model. Pour ceux qui connaissent la courbe de la sonde, en fait, on va surfer la première phase de cette courbe, et quand on sera au pic, donc s'il y a une découverte, soit il y a une découverte et on va très haut sur cette première jambe de hausse de la courbe de la sonde. Et au moment où il y aura cette découverte, le business model, c'est on ne va pas attendre que ça redescende, on ne va pas attendre la partie engineering de la courbe de la sonde où on fait toutes les études pour la construction de la mine. Ils le disent, c'est là où Midnight Sun n'existera plus, il sera vendu à un First Quantum, à un Barrick, voilà, qui regarde évidemment ce déposit. Donc voilà ce qu'on joue. Et ce qui est intéressant, c'est qu'ils viennent de faire un financement qui permet d'aller très vite sur ces campagnes de forage. Donc c'est un dossier qui va être assez rapide quand même. Soit ça arrive pas.
C'est le beau deal qui a été communiqué. C'est le deal qui a été communiqué.
Oui, on va les cuisiner là-dessus.
Just one quick question. How do these thicknesses compare with the new one?
Great question. Absolutely great question. In fact, it was the next thing I was going to tell you all about, so it's perfect. So what we have, this is Dumbo. Okay, so first of all, I just realized I have a pointer, so this is really going to help. This is Dumbo. Okay, this is the basement I was telling you about, the old rocks. Those are 1.4 billion years old, very old. This is Dumbo. That is an anomaly. So what we call an anomaly means in soil, we have copper that is mineable grade 0.73%. You'll remember I said the average mine in this area is 0.56%. This is 0.73% copper, and this runs for 20 kilometers. Okay, that's off the charts. That is a massive soil anomaly. This has been drilled. First Quantum drilled this. All of these drill holes over here were drilled by First Quantum, and they drilled about 25 holes in total. So to answer your question, how does it stack up? The average intercept at most of these mines is between 10 and 20 meters thick. So unlike big copper deposits that I described earlier as porphyry, that tend to be very deep, and they're big, you get these big long intercepts, maybe 100 meters, these are totally different. These run for many kilometers on strike, so along the ground, many kilometers, and they're very shallow, which means they're perfect to open pit mine. They're very cheap, they're inexpensive, they're shallow, they're easy, and they typically run as a flat-lying layer that just runs for many kilometers. And so when you see intercepts like this, these are exactly the same as what you see at the operating mines in the area. And in grade, they're significantly higher. So what you typically see, like at Lumwana, the average grade is 0.52% copper. And you're always going to have a diluted grade because the extra rock that you have to mine out to get the copper dilutes it over time. But this is economic grades over significant widths. Those are the kind of intercepts you're looking for to build a mine. So those are exactly what we're looking for. And the best part of this is that those were drilled over the entire 20 kilometers. So we already have validation and we have confirmation that Dumbo is real. We know it's real. First Quantum's drilled it. We have thousands of soil samples showing at surface that this is the highest grade and largest soil anomaly on record in the country of Zambia. But we'll take it a step further. There's a characteristic that every major mine in this area has. You don't see it anywhere else, but you see it where all these big deposits sit. And this is called a copper clearing, okay? This is what it looks like when you're driving across Dumbo. When you're driving, this is the jungle. I took this picture about 4 weeks ago on site because I wanted to be able to show everybody when I present what it looks like. This is what Dumbo looks like. And when you get to this purple blob up here, when you get to this, you go from this to this. You don't have to be a geologist to know that there's something very odd going on here. This is called a copper clearing. And what this is when there is so much copper in the soil, trees can't grow. Plants can't grow. It's a literal copper kill zone. And so it's the first thing that tells you that there's something very, very large and very strange going on here, that there is no trees. They just end. You're driving through the bush and all of a sudden there's nothing. So this is a copper clearing and it sits surrounding this, which is the top part of this Dumbo system, and it runs almost 3% copper. So this is very high grade copper right at surface, and this is our first view of what this actually looks like underneath. So then the question becomes, what does it look like underneath? We know it's the same as Lumwana, okay? They're in the same host rock, they have the same geology, they were formed at the same time in history, and they're hosted in the exact same kind of geology. There's one big difference though. Lumwana is about 4 kilometers long by about 250 meters wide and about 150 meters deep. Dumbo is 20 kilometers long. It doesn't run 0.1 or 0.2, it runs 0.73 at surface, and it's over 250 to 500 meters wide and running almost 200 meters deep. So from a geometry standpoint alone, we can already see that Kevin's on the right track. This is bigger by a vast margin than what they initially had at Lumwana. And if we can prove that in drilling, then this has a chance to be not just Lumwana sized or bigger than Lumwana, it might be multiple Lumwanas. So this is how we're going to prove it. This is Kevin's thesis. Do you want to jump in at all or are we good to keep going?
No, it's fine.
Good, okay. So this is the same 20 kilometer long anomaly that I just showed you. And this technique was Kevin's magic bullet at Lumwana. He went and did this thing called a dipole-dipole IP survey. And what it does is it gives you a look at where the mineralization is sitting under the ground, and it allows you to correlate the depth, the angle that the mineralization is sitting, and correlate that with the drilling that was done historically and that soil sampling at top that gave us this giant anomaly. Once you have all of that data, you can build a roadmap to how to drill this off so that you can be very systematic, very effective, And pretty well, once you figure out the model, you can stay on it and build this thing out. So we've so far, out of the 20 kilometers, we've run 11.5 kilometers of this type of survey. Now, in our business, you often hear us talk about the millions of dollars we're going to spend on drilling, millions of dollars on soil sampling, and all these other things. This cost us $50,000. That's it. That's the entire thing, and it gives us the magic bullet to getting this thing developed. So what did we end up with? We ended up with this and this. And what that is 11.5 kilometers of consistent mineralization, and proof that Dumbo is carrying on does give us the actual roadmap Kevin was looking for. And these are measuring two different things. We call this chargeability, and this is called resistivity. But those turquoise bars are showing you the mineralization continuing over that 11.5 kilometers. Now, we don't think it runs for 11.5 kilometers. We think it runs for the full 20. We have no doubt in our mind. In everything we have, all of the data we have, the drilling, the geochem, sampling, the IP stuff we've done so far, it's continuous. Nothing changes in the first 2 kilometers from the last 2 kilometers. It continues on. So now we do the hard part, the exciting part. We get to go and drill. We've already started. We've already gone and drilled the first 12 holes, and we've already hit. So we have now confirmed that Dumbo is real. We found what we were looking for, and we're drilling this systematically, starting down here at the bottom, and we're modeling and drilling every single line with a goal of getting to here, line 6, by Christmas. That will give us the first 2 to 3 kilometers of strike length and allow us to show the world how big this is going to be, because then they can extrapolate that over the entire 11 or 20 kilometers as the case may be.
Well, those first drawings not a bit disappointing.
They have not been disappointing at all. So they are the drill results we put out so far. Now, you got to think like a copper investor looking at the market might go, I'm not familiar with a sediment-hosted deposit or a stratabound deposit. I'm looking for a porphyry intercept that's 200 meters long, but 2 kilometers underground. Well, we're not going to give them that. We're going to give them these shorter stratabound intercepts that make the most economic mines in the world. They're 10 to 20 meters thick. They start at surface, and they're less than 150 meters down. These are what you want to find. Economic grades, widths that you can mine from surface, very shallow, very easy. So our first drill results came out, and we didn't find 10 to 15 meters. We found 39 meters of 0.51. So that's triple the width of the average mine in this area. That's a big, broad intercept of stratabound material with mineable grade copper, and in that there was also 7 meters of 1.13%. So that's extremely high grade for a deposit of this sort. But there's one really important thing that came of this, and it's not these numbers actually. It's the fact that we have gone and tested our model, and it worked. It held water. It's real. Dumbo is real. We've confirmed the model. We've confirmed that Dumbo is there. We've matched the historic results, and we've actually hit better results than the historic results. And now we get to go and put our model to work and drill this systematically and get it to the finish line.
And apparently, this campaign starts exactly the same way as the campaign on the over side, right? Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at Lumwana, so when Kevin found Lumwana, Kevin found 3 things. When Barrick hired him to fix Lumwana, the first thing was the main deposit at Lumwana wasn't working. So he very quickly fixed that and made it work. Then he found 2 deposits called Lubwe and Camaranda that are brand new deposits that are part of what Barrick is building, and they're calling a super pit. So it's one giant pit that covers 3 deposits, and Kevin found these deposits exactly the same way. The intercepts were smaller, shorter, but exactly the same thing. Only it took Kevin 28 drill holes at Lubwe and something like 70 at Camaranda. We did this on hole number 3. So we put our model to the test, and it worked. We're now on hole number 12. We've expedited the next round of results because we want to deliver them to the market. We know we're on it, and the beauty is once you're on it, you can stay on it. Once you know the model works, it's consistent.
J'interromps ici, mais le marché ne suit pas les 2 projets en parallèle. Donc il se focalise sur les premiers résultats. Et comme le titre a énormément monté, on se dit, bon, c'est que le marché sent un bonhomme Zagreb qu'il a réglé. Alors qu'ils ne sont pas du tout dans la même philosophie. Ils veulent valider un modèle et avancer à la même allure que ce qu'il a lancé sur son autre découverte. Donc il y a une petite déconnexion. C'est-à-dire que si on ne connaît pas en fait, la stratégie de coller à l'autre modèle, et on a un investisseur un peu pressé, on voit les premiers résultats, on dit c'est pas économique, enfin, c'est pas le même agréable qu'on attendait. Donc c'est ce qui a, à mon sens, provoqué le reflux, en plus du financement. Mais en fait, cette stratégie de coller au modèle, elle n'est pas comprise par tout le monde, parce qu'il faut faire cette explication et cette recherche sur la stratégie. Ils ne sont pas pressés, ils ne veulent pas dire on a trouvé, ils veulent essayer de développer un modèle, de coller au modèle qui est allé sur leur premier succès. En fait, c'est ça la stratégie en fait, de Midnight Sun.
Excellent. So this is really, really exciting to us. We now understand what it looks like, we understand how it works, and now we work and drill on a constant basis. So we now have 3 drill rigs turning, we have a 4th that's going to start, and we're going to bring more in the new year. And the point being, we have the funding, we just raised $30 million, we closed it a couple of days ago. We opened at 10 million, the book ran to 60 million in less than 12 hours. We closed it at 30 and brought in enough money to take this to the finish line. Voilà. So we have the support.
Quand on étudie junior, on étudie la stratégie de drilling. C'est-à-dire qu'ils ont levé de l'argent pour le drilling, il faut vraiment essayer de comprendre la stratégie derrière, qu'est-ce qui va se passer. Parce qu'il y a tellement de sociétés qui gagnent de l'argent pour faire les forages, mais s'il n'y a pas de stratégie derrière, vous pouvez être sûr que c'est au petit bonheur la chance. Et, voilà. Donc là, il y a un modèle, peut-être que ça ne va pas aboutir, mais au moins, on achète cette stratégie. Voilà. Il faut vraiment que ce soit déterminé dans les contacts que vous avez avec les compagnies minières qui sont en exploration. S'il n'y a pas de stratégie de forage, il y a d'autres cases à cocher, mais celle-là est vraiment très importante. On ne fait pas un financement si on n'a pas de stratégie.
Excellent.
Yes, short question.
Sure.
When will you publish your next result campaign?
Yeah, really good question. So 2 things. The drilling has started, the drilling has ramped up, and we're going to publish results on a constant basis. So we've just
as
done...
As soon as you find something,
yes,
you publish it.
absolutely.
So you need to keep an eye always on the website.
Yes, absolutely. So what we do, we cut a deal with a lab called SGS. They're located an hour away from us. Very, very well-known, very world-renowned, reputable lab. And we cut a deal with them. We want our results every 2 weeks, at most. So they're going to take our material as we drill, we take it, and we get results every 2 weeks. And we just keep pumping out results to the market, keep showing them what we're finding. So, you know, results are imminent on a constant basis. And we're drilling very aggressively. As I said, 3 drill rigs, a 4th coming, there's no slowing down. And the key is, once you start a project like this, you want to get it to the finish line as quickly as possible. There's no waiting, there's no lag time, and we don't have time to waste. We want to make sure that we stay the premier company in the belt and that we're in that target area to be taken out. So we want to develop this asset as quickly as we can, show the world it's real, and make sure we get bought.
And is it a pure copper deposit? Or
yes.
Do you find something
pure copper.
Like zinc or
nope.
a little bit of gold?
Pure copper. Pure copper. Nothing else. No cobalt, no nickel in this area. Different parts of the property are different, but this is pure copper.
Pure copper.
Pure copper. Yeah. And these are real copper numbers. They're not enriched. No, these are acid-soluble copper numbers. So these are real grades that you're seeing when I'm quoting this for you.
So you just need to retrieve in the future the one who will buy the mine and produce it. You just need to put chemical on the works to...
Yeah, the metallurgy, yeah.
To find the copper and then separate different metals.
Yeah. Yeah, and these are easy. And the other thing to really keep in mind is that we're working in an area where, you know, a lot of companies like to say, oh, there's infrastructure around us. We're surrounded by the 5 biggest mines in Africa. We have Kansanshi next door to us that is the most efficient copper smelter on the planet today. This is something where most companies would probably never even build an actual facility. They would just mine it and truck the ore to one of the other mines. So this can be fast-tracked and put into development, put into production extremely quickly. And that's key. That comes back to the point of the US government putting money in here for a rail line, the fact that this can actually deliver and make a global impact on the deficit. That's why these assets are so important.
Can you please explain the smelting process in Zambia? If I heard correctly, right now, Zambia exporting concentrate to China or to other smelters around. Do you see the smelters in Zambia building their own cathode?
Absolutely. So most, like the mines in Zambia, many of them do have a smelter. Like, so First Quantum at Kansanshi, which I'm going to go back really quick to show you. Kansanshi actually has, so right up here, they have a smelter on site. So they actually smelt all their own material and they can ship final product anywhere they want.
Okay.
With this new rail line, they're going to be able to ship product out to the west, to a western port, which will make it very easy to get it to Europe and to the US.
So they will export cathode.
They can export anywhere they want to. So this is globally critical.
Alors ça c'est très important parce qu'on n'est pas dans la boucle difficile de l'exportation de concentré vers des smelters chinois. Vous savez qu'il y a un problème sur les smelters actuellement, c'est-à-dire qu'il y a trop de smelters en Chine. Et donc on a un problème sur l'économie des concentrés. La question sur le zinc était très bonne parce que en fait ce qui donne la valeur d'un concentré aujourd'hui, c'est les byproducts. C'est pas uniquement le cuivre. Aujourd'hui le marché il est comme ça. Donc là il y a du cuivre. S'il y avait un export de concentré pur vers la Chine, il y aura un souci. Mais là on n'est pas du tout dans ce business model. Et la Zambie, à mon avis d'une manière très intelligente, a poussé justement à la mise en place de ces smelters. En fait la Zambie ils veulent exporter produits, ils veulent exporter des cathode. Ils ne veulent pas exporter ce qui est différent d'autres juridictions, la Colombie.
Ils cherchent aussi en Indonésie à faire la même chose.
Et oui,
oui,
exactement. C'est le gros changement actuellement. Donc, assécher en fait ce marché des concentrés et avoir des pays en fait qui développent leurs propres matières premières.
I'm sorry, I missed the point. I think how like overcapacity in smelting in China leads to that type of problem. We should be dying to imports like concentrate from Zambia instead of the phenomena you depict. Comment est-ce qu'un problème de surcapacité en Chine, au contraire, pourquoi les Chinois achetaient du concentré possible, imagine. Enfin, j'ai raté une.
Aujourd'hui, si la Zambie n'avait pas en fait ces smelters, en fait, c'est obligé d'aller sur un marché d'exportation. Donc, ils seraient confrontés en fait au niveau offre avec une offre de concentré de cuivre avec des byproducts qui est économiquement plus intéressante. Donc les Chinois, comme ils ne se rémunèrent pas sur le cuivre, puisqu'il y a une compétition absolument incroyable, les prix sont très bas, ils vont chercher en fait leur marge sur les byproducts. Et là, comme il n'y a pas de byproducts, donc la demande serait moins importante sur ce type de concentré. Mais c'est complètement hypothétique, vu que là, on est sur une production, on va être sur une production locale.
Ça, j'ai compris. Ouais, merci.
So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but I'm going to man this from over here because I can explain it just as easily. So I've shown you one part of our project. Okay, we have two very key targets. We actually have the target that I just showed you is a target for a tier 1 copper deposit. These are rare. They come up extremely rarely. There hasn't been a new tier 1 copper discovery in probably close to a decade in Zambia. These are incredibly rare globally and leading to this deficit. I mean, there really is just not a lot of very large copper deposits coming upstream. What I just showed you is a brand new tier 1 copper system coming together, and we're successful in drilling. It has the scale, it has the grade, we've proven it's there. Now we get to go out and build it out, and our target for this is bigger than Lamwana. It's bigger than 1 billion tons. So we are looking to develop the next big copper deposit in Zambia that will be a major mine. And super exciting to be at this phase now of having shown that it's there, having confirmed that it's real, and now we get to drive it to the finish line, which creates a pretty exciting entry point for people as well, to be a part of the story and to be invested and to be part of it going forward. This is the part of it that gets most people really excited. But this is the other phase of our project. So there are two really critical components to Midnight Sun, and as I mentioned at the beginning, what makes us very unique in the exploration world is that we do have a near-term production asset and the exploration assets I just showed you. We have 2 more targets for one of those Dumbo style systems. We're not going to drill those to 2026. We're going to focus on Dumbo, laser focus, completely focused on what we need to do to get to the finish line. But we are doing this, and this is a really unique situation. And it ties into actually the question we just had a minute ago about near-term production, about smelters in the area and everything else. Now the one thing that does still work on here is the pointer, so I'm going to put that to work. right here. That's Kansanshi, okay? That is one of the largest copper mines in Zambia. That's owned by First Quantum. And this is a 1 billion ton deposit at 0.6% copper. But how Kansanshi works is the unique thing. They make their money by sorting out the copper material into each individual type and then processing it individually to get the most copper out of it. The more copper they can recover, the more money they make. So this has been First Quantum's flagship for a long time. And talking about Laurent's slide from earlier and mines shutting down, I mentioned Cobre Panama. That was also owned by First Quantum, only the Panamanian government nationalized that asset. That was 5% of the world's copper production, and it's now gone. So they need to ramp up here. But how they do this is very interesting. They have something on site here that not many companies do, which is called an SXEW circuit. That's an oxide circuit. So they actually take a different type of copper than what I was just describing at Dumbo. It's copper that sits right at surface in oxidized rock. And they actually process that on its own to get copper out there. But they have a second reason they do it. They have the most efficient copper smelter on the planet on site at the Kansanshi mine. But that copper smelter produces over 1 million tons, actually 1.5 million tons of sulfuric acid every year. Now, sulfuric acid is nasty. It's an environmental liability. It's terrible. You're not allowed to ship it. You're not allowed to truck it. You can't move it around Zambia. So you somehow have to come up with a way to get rid of that acid on site. Well, how do you get rid of it? They have a great way of doing it. They take oxide copper and they actually heap leach the oxide copper with the acid, which normally if you heap leach, which is a type of mining, that's your biggest cost. So they get the acid for free. They heap leach their oxide copper. It turns the acid into water. Problem solved. But there's a big benefit. Turns the oxide copper into cathode copper, which they sell for $450 million a year. That's the economic engine at Kansanshi. That's how they make so much money. That's the beauty of their process. There is one problem though, and that is that they have depleted their oxide copper supply. They've run out. They've been doing that for 20 years. It's worked beautifully, and they're down to the very, very end now. They have a very small amount left, and they need a new supply. Well, who's that new supply going to be? Hopefully, if we're successful right now, Midnight Sun. We have oxide copper on our property. It's less than 6 kilometers away. Their haul road runs right through the middle of our property. It is a win-win, match made in heaven for us and for First Quantum.
Can I ask you what you did not start on this phase of the project?
So
to have the cash flow to make your drilling company?
So to answer your question, we are. So we've started this, we're well underway. We actually started this, I keep forgetting this slide doesn't work. We started this at the same time as Dumbo. And we started a conversation with First Quantum. So we started a discussion about making this the new source of their oxide copper and how we could take material from here at Kuba and deliver it to Kansanshi very, very quickly to solve their issue. And we came up with a strategy together. And what we're doing is we have a technical alliance, so we're helping one another geologically to get this resource developed as quickly as possible so that they can mine it, solve their issue, keep the cash flow going and keep getting rid of their acid, and in the meantime, make us a whole bunch of cash as well. So we drilled this. Now, you'll remember I said the average grade of a copper mine in this area is 0.56%. The average grade that First Quantum runs at Kansanshi is 0.1. These are the results from our drilling. So we went and drilled this last year, and we drilled 21 meters of 10.6% copper, 26 meters of 5.6% copper, 15 meters of 3%, 7 meters of 4.6, 21 of 8.52. These are spectacular numbers. These aren't just, sorry? It's a mine. It's a gold mine. Exactly. It is. It is. It's a gold mine in copper. This is as good as it gets. And it gets even better, actually. This is at surface. This isn't 100 meters underground. This isn't a kilometer underground. This is at surface, sitting in soil, large blocks of high-grade copper called malachite that can be mined, that can go directly on their heap leach. It's exactly what they need. So we have expedited this process in order to get this material to the Kansanshi mine as quickly as we can. And I'll show you how we're doing that. So first of all, we started by drilling this area here. That's where I just showed you those results from. Then we ran a survey, which is what I'm showing you on the screen, and we found this, this, and this, and this thing, which are all the same material. So we think we have even more than we thought we did to begin with. And this area, we went with a very aggressive drill program, which we just completed, and we drilled 160 holes as quickly as we possibly could. This took us about 3 months, cost us about $200,000. Again, very low amount of money, very shallow, very quick.
What's your drilling cost?
$80 a meter.
How is this possible?
It's RC drilling, it's vertical, it's simple stuff. So these holes are only 30 meters deep, they're all vertical, and all of this material sits from surface to a maximum depth of 30 meters. It is literally sitting on the surface.
C'est absolument hors marché. Au Québec, c'est 200. Au Yukon, c'est 700.
At least. Yeah, a big virtue of working in Zambia are input costs like this, drilling in particular, is much less expensive.
The Ring of Fire at 700.
I was going to say over 5, right?
Yeah,
700.
Yeah.
So if everybody heard that comparison in Canada, in an area called the Ring of Fire in Ontario, it's $700 a meter to drill. For us, for core drilling, it's $180 a meter, $160 a meter, and for this type of drilling, it's $80 a meter. That's massive.
Ça aussi, c'est très important dans l'étude du junior, toujours demander le prix de pouvoir le mettre, parce que si on arrive à des coûts très importants, c'est-à-dire que la mine qui va être développée, elle va coûter aussi beaucoup cher. Donc c'est vraiment, là on est sur un dossier qui est très intéressant au niveau de l'opérationnel du forage.
So this area here, you'll see these blue dots, and then these red dots. So the blue dots are where we drilled last year. The red dots are the holes we just finished drilling. So we drilled 160 new holes, and that is designed to find the edges of this deposit. Where does the deposit go? How big is the footprint? How much material do we have? And additionally, we drilled what we call infill holes, so holes to confirm the mineralization, expand the mineralization, and we've completed this. So now we're going to publish a resource that'll come out probably around the first week of December, maybe late November, and it's going to tell the world how big this actually is. What is it, 100 million pounds of copper, which would have a few $100 million of value? Is it 200 million pounds of copper, which would have $600 or $700 million of value? Like, how big is it? These are very valuable system, very near surface, very easy to develop. And once we know what it is, how big it is, and how much it's worth, we can do a deal with First Quantum. We can formalize a deal, we can let them mine this, and the arrangement we have is, look, if we're going to mine this, you do it, you do the permitting, you guys take care of it. We're not a mining team, as I told you right off the bat. We're an exploration team. We make the discovery, we let someone else mine it. But what we would get for that is a whole lot of cash flow, and it would cost us nothing. Zero. No capex, no cost. We hand it off to them, let them mine it, and give us a percentage of the cash flow. What better situation could you possibly have than a major mining company next door to you, mining a piece of your property and just giving you some of the cash? And if we had even 30% of their oxide cash flow, it's $120 million. It's a lot of money, and with no capex. So we're pushing this forward, and to answer Laurent's question.
Are you going to include those numbers in the PA?
Yeah, so what we'll do, we'll take this as far as a resource estimate. Because of the type of mineralization it is, it doesn't need economic studies. First Quantum could care less. They're like, look, as long as we know the material's there and we can confirm it in a resource estimate that's 43101 compliant, which is our regulatory body in Canada, we can mine this. All they're going to do is bring an excavator in, scoop the material up at surface, and take it straight to their heap leach.
But how can we evaluate the NPV with these projects?
Well, I think to answer your question on how you evaluate, we publish our resource, so you have an idea of how much copper is there. If we come up with an economic arrangement with First Quantum on the processing of that, that would contain those details, the arrangement of costs associated with that. I mean, you can also take a look at First Quantum's published financials as well, how they break out their costs there. And the math is quite, yes, quite obvious there. And for those who haven't checked today, a reminder that copper is trading over $5 a pound. So there's a lot of money to be made for Midnight Sun, a tremendous amount of money to be saved by First Quantum in dealing with that environmental liability that Adrian talked about of all that acid that they're producing.
Yeah, and the key is if they leave that acid, right? So they're stockpiling that acid in tanks. At a certain point, they run out of capacity. If they run out of capacity, and they can't store acid, then they can't smelt material. If they can't smelt material, they can't keep mining and processing sulfides. It affects the entire chain of operations of their mine. So it is absolutely critical that they find a solution, and the solution is our property. So we're in an ultimate situation here to make this a reality and pushing it forward quickly. So what we've done is drilled this area here. This is where we're producing the resource. It's surrounded in blue. These are the new target zones, and we just started drilling those yesterday. So that's going to take us a month and a half to drill. And once those are drilled, then we add that into the resource. So this is the initial base case resource, and then these will be the upside. And we have the potential there to double or triple the amount of oxide material we have, giving them double or triple the mine life, and at the same time, double or triple the cash flow for all of us. So this is the unicorn situation. You never see this with junior mining companies. A near-term production scenario with zero capex that happens at the same time. It's really incredible. So that is a really great scenario that we've been working on and puts us in a position that's led to this. So this is kind of the final slide I'm going to show you, and then I obviously want to open the floor to any questions. And I know Laurent wants to talk about a few other things, but Midnight Sun, so going back to my story about where I came from. I was with Oxygen Capital, a group that was steeped in history of discoveries and successes. And you know, I ended up in a position where my partners decided to retire, and I'm nowhere near ready to retire. I want to keep going and do other projects. And I was approached by a fellow in Vancouver that owns 35 million shares of Midnight Sun. And he said, listen, I know what you used to do for Midnight Sun, not for Midnight Sun, sorry, for Oxygen. And I know this company, they have a project. I think you should look at it. I think it's the best copper project I've ever seen. And I said, well, I'll happily take a look. And I looked at the project details. I met with Al and Matt. I've known Al for over 20 years. He's our CEO. And he's a good friend. I knew he was somebody I could work with. And we looked at this project. I had it vetted by geologists I work with. And everybody said the exact same thing. This is once in a lifetime. Like, this is the project everybody spends their career looking for. Put everything you have into this. Go for it. And that's exactly what we did. So we joined forces. We came up with a strategy. We kicked that strategy in basically 18 months ago. We raised $10 million. We came up with the plan at Kuba to develop our oxides. We came up with a plan at Dumbo. We funded that plan. Now we're sitting here, well, let's call it 14 months later. We started out with a $27 million market cap and a company that wasn't really on the radar. We weren't well known. We're in a position, so we launched a communication strategy. We launched an exploration strategy. And a couple of weeks ago, we hit a peak valuation of $360 million. We have $40 million in the bank. We're a TSX top 50 company. We have fully arrived on the scene, and we are making this one of the best known copper stories out there. It's unique. It is truly one of those once in a lifetime, once in a career opportunities for somebody that does what I do, somebody that does what Matt does. These are the kind we look for forever, and they're extraordinary. You get a chance to go for it and develop one. It's a pretty exciting process. And we've completely converted it. So we've hit a high, shows on here of $1.49. We've actually hit a high of $2 so far this year. It's backed off a little bit with our financing. We just closed a $30 million financing with the 15 biggest mining funds in the world. That is now going to carry us to the finish line to drill Dumbo. And we've completely transformed Midnight Sun. So this is super exciting. But what we've really done for you as an investor is we have shown how valuable this is. We've backstopped our market cap, and we've de-risked this project to a point where there is a beautiful baseline built at a reasonable level where there's lots of upside left, but we've de-risked it. We've proven that Dumbo is real. We've confirmed the mineralization. We've got a pathway to getting it drilled off, and we've got a near-term production plan coming together. So,
merci.
I just have a short question
regarding
when exactly you bought the land, not you directly, because
12 years ago.
12 years ago?
12 years ago.
And from who? From
so
government?
Yeah, I'll give you the story. This property was actually belonged to First Quantum. First Quantum had around 20 licenses in Zambia. So they had 20 licenses. 5 of those comprised the Kansanshi mine, which is next door to us. And while they were in development, they weren't working on any of the other property. The property was sitting stagnant, and the Zambian government introduced something that we refer to as the use it or lose it law. And what it means is, if you're working on a part of your property and the other part is just sitting there and you're not doing any work and you're not progressing it, they want you to release it and let someone else work on it. And so this property was part of the licenses that they had to drop. It was exploration ground. They'd done lots of work. It had good data, and we were able to option it and pick the property up. So that's how it came about.
But what is strange is why they did not investigate or drill more
well,
on section if you have
the thing
potential. It's a bit curious. Maybe because at that time the copper price was low.
It was more to do with the fact that they had Kansanshi. Kansanshi is 1 billion tons.
So
they had just built Kansanshi and they were just putting it into production.
So they don't have enough investment money to...
You can only do so much. You can't eat the world, as I like to say, and they had a 1 billion ton mine. They had another asset in Panama. They had enough on their plate, and they had to let something go. They couldn't put their focus everywhere. You can go ahead.
Yeah. They're in the midst of building a multi-billion-dollar smelter. The exploration team didn't have a budget.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was time to focus on one thing, and that's exactly it. So, you know, certainly they've talked to us in the meantime. They've shared their feelings on it, as have the guys at other companies we've talked to. No one doubts that Dumbo was real. They never doubted it back then. They don't doubt it now. It's just that they had to draw the line somewhere. You can only put your assets or your capital into so many things, and they had to draw the line somewhere. So this was their exploration property, and they had to let it go. So it was their, you know, unfortunate situation, but it ended up being a massive benefit to us. But it meant 10 years of waiting and working and trying to push it ahead for these guys through extremely tough copper prices and tough markets. But that's the wherewithal it takes in our business to be successful. If you have total conviction, you do what they did. You hang on for 10 years. You hang on for 12 years. You know, you do what it takes to get it to the finish line if you really believe in it. And when you look at people like Kevin Bonnel joining us to do this, that's the ultimate stamp of approval. He's risking his career, his name, his legacy on the fact that he knows this is what he saw at Lomwana. He can do it again. And he's putting his money where his mouth is. He's doing it. So, pretty exciting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.